This is a video to show you how I replaced the drive shaft in a 2004 Cadillac SRX all-wheel drive V8. This particular vehicle, you can't just replace the center support bearing for the drive shaft. You have to do the whole drive shaft. So that's what I'm doing here. So for this job, after I took the necessary precautions to make sure the car wasn't going to roll back and forth, chuck the tires, make sure the car's not going to move. Use these tools, T45 1/2-inch. This is a 10mm, 15mm, 18mm, as well as an 18mm combination wrench. This is one of the bolts that broke off from the muffler. This is I want to say, the most common thing to happen. What I'm gonna have to do is drill out the piece that was left in there and then get a new bolt and a nut, or simply take it to the muffler shop and they will probably charge me 20 or 30 bucks to do it there, and it'll be a quick job for them. So let's get started. Drive shaft's already removed. So first thing that I did was to take off the bolts from the muffler. Oxygen sensor, as you can see, still there. I just suspended the muffler off the ground to prevent from overstretching the oxygen sensor wire. As you can see, I still have some slack. I simply did this just to save time. The next thing I did was to go to the back and remove the rubber supports from the muffler. Anybody can do that. You don't need any special tools. You will need assistance to lower the muffler. Third thing I did was to remove this here center brace. After I removed that, I was able to lower the muffler, and as I said, I needed help. The muffler weighs about maybe 20 to 30 pounds. It's not terribly heavy, but because it's long and you know, its shape, you're gonna need help. Okay, the next thing I did was remove these bolts. These are the 18mm bolts, and the drive shaft didn't fall out because it has that pin that goes into the drive shaft. So it didn't go anywhere for me. Then after that, I came up here in the front and removed these bolts with the T45. They went right here. This here hole is covered up with the drive shaft. Once I removed these bolts, the drive shaft still didn't move, didn't go anywhere, because it still had the center support bearing holding it in place, or helping it to be held in place anyways. Before you get to the bearing, I had to remove this shield. It goes here like that. These are 10mm bolts. These are 15mm. So I removed the 15mm bolts first, got that out of the way. Then you're left with these 15mm bolts that hold the support bearing in place and helps to keep the drive shaft in place also. At this point, I was able to move the drive shaft and jiggle it and see how it was obviously torn, the seal inside. So then I took these off. Bearing was free, and so was the drive shaft, but it still didn't fall off because you have to grab it from here. You might have to pound it for it to be free, but I had to pound it for it to become free. Pushed it back and then down and out towards the front. So I pulled it out of the front towards the front, and that's when this pin here came out, and I had my free drive shaft. I'm simply going to reverse the same procedure that I followed to remove it, and I'm going to show you. This is the new drive shaft I'm going to put in place, but this is the old drive shaft right here. This is where the T45 bolts go. So this goes towards the front of the drive shaft. This is the bearing. As you can see, it had to go because it was doing a whole lot of this up and down, a lot of banging. This is the back. This goes towards the back. 1, 2, 3 bolts right there. So those are the bolts that go towards the back. I grabbed it, pulled it forward, and lowered it. And this is how I replaced the drive shaft on a 2004 Cadillac SRX all-wheel drive V8. Thanks.